Hey everyone, my name is Mollie Tuggle and I'm an illustrator from Los Angeles, California. I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about my illustration work, how I conceptualize a design, what materials I use, and what inspires me. Um, my art has been described as like psychedelic, surreal, folk art. I work with musicians a lot. I do touring gig posters, like screen printed gig posters for bands and for festivals. For the past 4 years, I've done the mural art for Doc Martens at South by Southwest Festival in Austin, Texas. So if you've ever been to their showcase on Rainy Street for South by, then you've definitely seen one of my pieces. Here is actually a picture of my first year's mural for them. So as you can see, really colorful, psychedelic, folk art, surreal, everything I just said, everything I just used to describe it. Unfortunately, this year's South by Southwest was canceled, as we all know. And here was one of the designs that I had drawn up for the festival. This was called the Coloring Book Mural. And what we were going to do was we were going to have just line work up this year, and we were going to let guests that came to the festival kind of fill in the paint for it, the colors for it. This is Zephyr too. She likes to sit up here. Anyways, we were calling it the Coloring Book Mural. We were going to let guests paint live. So in lieu of that, we're actually going to make this artwork available to you at home so that you can download an adult coloring book version of all of my artwork. Here are some other examples. So this was the third year at South by Southwest. I did like these square pieces. And for you at home, you'll get versions like this that you can color and fill in whatever, however you want. And please tag me because I really want to see what everyone comes up with. All of these little patterns in here, these little designs within these pieces are really great too for ideas for customizing your Doc Martens at home. I actually used this exact boot, as you can see, for a customization pair of my own. So they're pretty much exactly the same. I really wanted these to match a pair of my own Doc Martens. This is just acrylic paint with a sealant over it, and this is actually metallic silver foil that I put on top of the glue. As you can see in there, like reflective, really cool, reflective black Doc Martens, really shiny. But today I'm not going to talk to you about customization. Today we're going to talk about how I kind of build a design. I like to use number 2 pencils when I'm drawing. The sketching, like for pencils, it's kind of just your preference, whatever you like to use to sketch with. I really like this brand. I really like their erasers. I like to draw on Bristol paper. It's really thick. It's almost as thick as watercolor paper, and it's really smooth, so ink doesn't bleed through, which is really great stuff. Which is really great for me because I actually don't use pens to draw with. Zephyr, stop. I use liquid ink, like Repeatograph ink that you use to fill pens with, but I do all of my line work with paintbrushes. So these are number 2. I like to use number 1, number 2. I think that this is just like more fluid. It doesn't look as stiff, and honestly, personally, I just feel like I have a lot more control when I'm using these, which you'll see in the videos that I'm going to show you. I am going to move the camera so it's above head so you can see my hands moving, and I am going to time lapse the process just because we are on a time restraint. So I'm not going to be talking during the video, but afterwards I'll kind of describe what I did and how to clean your tools and such. But anyways, let's get started. Today I'm going to draw a girl's face, and I'm going to just kind of basically start with, usually just start with an idea, like today, the outline of a girl's face, her silhouette, and then within that I'll build and kind of just like find pieces that fit within pieces that fit within pieces, so almost like a puzzle. And that's usually how I honestly do my murals and my poster art. I kind of just like pick a starting point and then kind of just build upon that starting point until I come up with something that's like filled up the whole page. And a lot of things that don't really make sense together, or things that like grow out of each other or become something else. which is kind of like what gives that surreal feeling, I think. So anyways, let's get started. I'm going to switch the camera over and I'll describe everything after I'm done. Okay. Okay, so here we have the pencil sketch. I basically just drew the woman's face outline, and they wanted me to incorporate a boot somewhere, obviously. So I just kind of threw this into the hair. The shoelaces could kind of come out too and like extend into pieces of the hair if we wanted to. Um, I just thought that that would like kind of float and fit in there nicely, especially with the paisleys. Paisleys are a great pattern that you can use in customizing your boots too. And then also we could like add a little. I love desert scenes. I don't know why. I think because the desert is like one of my favorite places to go. So like throw a little clouds back in there. A lot of this ends up just kind of being honestly just kind of being like an outline, because when I go in and shade, I won't actually do this cloud in that shape. I would probably just go in and put like lines like that with the ink, to give it like the shape of a cloud, which I'll show you momentarily. Same with like these little lines here. These are all shading lines, for me to kind of like play with, or like know, just kind of know that they're there, almost like mapping out my process. So I'm gonna do a little bit of ink, just here on this normal video, and then I'm gonna time lapse it again so that we fit within the time restraints. Um, I use this like antique inkwell to put my ink into, but you can use just like plastic or like these little glass cups. This is actually the glass cup that I use to clean my brushes in, because I use an oil-based cleaner to get the ink off of the brushes. But in the meantime, they're just gonna hold this. So basically, you shake this away from the paper, and pour a little bit into your whatever like container that you're using. Here, we'll do this. So as you can see, I use this a lot. Pour some ink in there. Get some paper towels. Always keep paper towels with you. And then you basically just dip the brush and then wipe a little bit of the excess off. And then we would just start lining. And you can just kind of start wherever you want. You don't have to follow the lines that you sketched out. All the pencil's going to get erased after the ink anyways. It's just kind of like a guideline for you for like what you were kind of thinking. It's better to have more ink on the brush than less. That way you don't have to keep dipping, but you will have to keep dipping and dabbing on the paper towel. It's hard for me to get all of this in the shot, but basically you'll just have to keep dipping and dabbing on the paper towel as you go to get that excess off. I usually get really, really quiet and really, really focused when I'm working on my art. So it is kind of unusual to trying to be talking and describing this also, but yeah, so this is just This is basically the technique, and you can go in and add whatever you want as you're shading, as you're getting these like thick, like juicy black lines. A lot of people have asked me what happens if you mess up, and honestly, if you mess up, you kind of just start over. You don't want to use whiteout on these because then you don't have an original that you can keep. So yeah, honestly, I usually just take my time and concentrate. It's like anything else, practice makes perfect. You get pretty used to it. Sometimes the mistakes are really beautiful too. It's almost like Navajo blankets, like I think it's Navajo, where they purposely put an air inside the pattern every time they make a blanket, because the reasoning behind that is nothing handmade should ever be completely perfect. So mistakes aren't necessarily a bad thing. Usually they just kind of like add to the fact that this was made by hand rather than being digital art. And that's honestly what my favorite thing about this style of art is that you can tell that somebody created it by hand rather than using a computer, especially with how digital everything is nowadays. I'm very much like an analog over digital type person. As I make a video to go on social media, it's pretty funny. But yeah, just keep adding these little extra lines and details in, dipping your brush back into the ink well as much as you need ink. Playing off of your little brush mistakes. This is why I like using brushes, because you can control the weight of the lines, how it goes. Like, I just think it makes a better stroke. All right, so that's getting started. I'm gonna go ahead and switch over to the time lapse so that we can get this done in time, and I can show you how to clean your brushes before this video is over. All right. All right, so we're done. Here's the ink. I hope you can see this well. And I'm not sure how well you could see at the end of the time-lapse video me cleaning the brush, but basically as soon as you're done, you want to immediately clean the brush, because if the ink dries on the brush, you will ruin the bristles. So first what you want to do is take the paper towels that we were using for blotting and fold them so that you have a clean surface. Then take some water and get the paper towel wet and wipe off all of the excess ink that you have. After that, you can take an oil, a brush oil preservative, and I use this little glass cup and pour some in there so that you can soak the bristles and get them really clean. Wipe off any excess oil you have. Spray this with water. And then wipe off any excess ink that you have. And when you're done, you should see that it's completely clean and your brush is basically brand new again. And Obviously get that out of the way and do that immediately. That way you don't ruin any of your brushes because they are expensive. And then after your brush is clean, you can clean off your area, your drawing area, and take just an eraser and just erase all of that pencil off of there, which I already did in the time lapse, but I'm just demonstrating. And then you'll get rid of like how we had the outline around the clouds and now it's just line work. You'll get rid of any excess pencil line that you don't want showing, to give yourself, like, to give your outline dimension or more character, make it a little bit more interesting. And that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please download my coloring book and color it. I really want to see what you guys come up with and what colors you choose to fill it in. My Instagram is at Mollie Tuggle. It's MOLLIE TUGGLE. And if you do color my pages, please tag me because I really want to see them. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching and have a good one.